Are you a Sagittarius, or perhaps you know someone who is? If so, you may have noticed their infectious energy, their thirst for adventure, and their insatiable curiosity. There's something captivating about their ability to dive into new experiences with such enthusiasm and optimism. Yet, despite their zest for life, Sagittarians often struggle with finding a sense of stability or commitment. They seem to be constantly on the move, whether it's traveling to new places or exploring fresh ideas. But why is it that their relentless quest for freedom can sometimes feel like it's at odds with their desire for deeper, more meaningful connections? Sagittarius is a fire sign ruled by Jupiter, the planet of expansion, growth, and wisdom. This powerful influence fuels their love for exploration and self-improvement, constantly pushing them to seek higher knowledge and new horizons. However, this very quest for personal freedom and adventure can sometimes lead to restlessness and difficulty committing to one path, whether it's a career or a relationship. As we dive deeper into the nature of Sagittarius, we'll explore how their adventurous spirit and need for growth shape their lives, and how they can achieve a harmonious balance between their boundless curiosity and the grounding forces of stability and emotional fulfillment. It's a journey of self-awareness, learning how to embrace both their love for freedom and the emotional connections that offer the true fulfillment they seek. Sagittarius, symbolizing freedom and adventure, is one of the most energetic and exploratory signs of the zodiac. Ruled by Jupiter, the planet of expansion, wisdom, and new horizons, those born under this sign have an endless thirst to understand and explore the world. This trait manifests not only in their travels but also in their approach to life, always seeking opportunities to learn, broaden their perspectives, and challenge the limits around them. Yet, despite their zest for life, Sagittarians often find themselves facing internal conflicts as they struggle with the need for stability and commitment, something that can feel limiting for their inherently free-spirited nature. One of the most significant influences in Sagittarius' personality comes from Jupiter, the planet that symbolizes growth, prosperity, and a broad outlook on the universe. Under Jupiter's rule, Sagittarians are naturally inclined to explore, learn new things, and remain open to different viewpoints. However, this very drive can sometimes pose a challenge when it comes to maintaining long-term commitments. Their goals and desires are never limited to one area, and they are always yearning for broader experiences. Thus, the constant quest for novelty and expansion can lead to inner conflict when faced with responsibilities that require commitment, whether in relationships or career choices. Recognizing and accepting that freedom and commitment don't always have to be opposing forces is the first step in addressing this dilemma. Most Sagittarians possess an intense need for freedom and tend to shy away from anything that could make them feel confined or restricted. They cherish their independence and often wish to control their own lives without feeling bound by external forces. However, the truth is that life cannot be solely about unending exploration. Every individual, whether a Sagittarius or not, requires some degree of stability to feel secure and at peace. If they only pursue freedom without anchoring themselves with meaningful commitments, they might end up feeling empty and unfulfilled, regardless of how many goals they achieve or how many places they visit. Another important aspect of Sagittarius character that they must consider is how Jupiter influences their perspective on the world and their relationships with others. With their natural inclination to seek out new experiences, they may sometimes overlook the stable elements required in long-term relationships. However, it's precisely the lack of investment in these lasting connections that can lead to a sense of loneliness. Even if they are constantly meeting new people and visiting new places, the reality is that deep, trustworthy relationships cannot be built from fleeting encounters or unpredictable adventures. Once they realize this, Sagittarians can start to understand that seeking stability in their relationships doesn't mean giving up their freedom but rather nurturing deeper, more sustainable connections. As they face the challenge of balancing their love for adventure with the need for stability, one effective approach that Sagittarians can adopt is to create clear and specific goals. These goals don't need to eliminate their creativity or passion for exploration. Instead, They should help them define a long-term direction so that they can move forward without feeling trapped. Setting a vision for the future allows them to find balance, knowing when to let go and when to focus on tangible commitments. This is the moment when combining Sagittarius' adventurous spirit with the grounding forces of commitment becomes a powerful motivator, enabling them to continue their exploration of the vast world without sacrificing their core values. The interaction between freedom and commitment is a crucial aspect of Sagittarius' personal growth. They will never abandon their desire to explore and discover the world, but they also need to acknowledge that it is only by creating stability that they will truly experience lasting happiness. Achieving harmony between these elements is not always easy, but if Sagittarius can accept that life can be a blend of freedom and stable commitments, they will build a fuller, richer, and more harmonious life. In doing so, they will not only be adventurers but also individuals who establish solid foundations in their relationships and careers, ultimately creating a more complete life journey. Thus, understanding and harnessing the strengths of Sagittarius in combination with stability will not only help them move forward with confidence and strength but will also enable them to live a more fulfilling and balanced life. Sagittarius' quest for freedom is undeniably one of the most profound aspects of their nature, and it often defines how they approach both life and relationships. This desire for constant movement and novelty reflects their deep need for intellectual and spiritual expansion. However, while they may be driven by the need to explore new territories, both physical and mental, they are often confronted with the reality that true fulfillment does not solely come from external discoveries. There is an inner journey, a search for deeper meaning, that requires a level of commitment to oneself and to the process of personal growth. This requires Sagittarius to look inward as much as they look outward, to realize that exploration can be a form of both inner and outer freedom. A significant challenge that many Sagittarians face is the constant tension between their desire for novelty and their need for introspection. While they are naturally inclined to seek out new experiences and perspectives, there comes a point when they must pause and reflect on the lessons these experiences are offering. It is often in the quiet moments of introspection, away from the chaos of new adventures, that they truly find the wisdom they seek. This pause is essential for Sagittarius to ground themselves and make sense of the knowledge they've gathered. Without it, they risk feeling scattered, unable to fully integrate the wealth of experiences they collect. The process of internal growth requires time, something that Sagittarius, with their love of speed and change, may resist. Yet, embracing stillness and the introspective process can offer them the clarity and peace that a life of constant movement cannot. Alongside this, there's the ongoing need for Sagittarius to reconcile their intellectual pursuits with emotional fulfillment. They are thinkers, always questioning and analyzing the world around them. However, this intellectual focus can sometimes create a disconnect between their logical mind and their emotional heart. For Sagittarius, learning to embrace and understand their emotions can be as important as expanding their minds. Often, their emotional lives take a back seat to their philosophical and adventurous nature, and this can lead to a feeling of emotional emptiness. True emotional fulfillment, therefore, requires Sagittarius to acknowledge the depth of their feelings, allowing them to become as comfortable with vulnerability as they are with the thrill of exploration. In doing so, they can develop a more balanced approach to life, one that honors both their intellectual curiosity and their emotional needs. Moreover, the desire to explore can sometimes cause Sagittarians to feel disconnected from their immediate surroundings. Their attention is often focused on future possibilities or far-off destinations, leading them to neglect the present moment. Yet, it is in the present that the foundation for meaningful relationships and a fulfilling life is built. To foster true connection, Sagittarius must learn to be present in their relationships, to give undivided attention to those they care about, and to understand that connection doesn't always require grand adventures or constant movement. Sometimes, emotional fulfillment comes from the simple act of being present, of sharing moments of vulnerability, and of being available to others in a way that shows they are invested in the relationship. These moments, no matter how small, are essential for Sagittarius to cultivate deep, lasting bonds. The challenge of finding stability while embracing freedom is not one that can be solved quickly. It is a journey of continual self-awareness and growth. For Sagittarius, learning to balance their need for independence with the grounding force of responsibility is an ongoing process. It requires them to develop the discipline necessary to honor their commitments, whether personal, professional, or relational, while still allowing space for their inherent need for adventure. This balance doesn't necessarily come naturally, as Sagittarius often thrives in environments of spontaneity and change. However, over time, they can learn to integrate both aspects of their nature, allowing them to pursue their dreams and passions while simultaneously creating a life that offers the stability they need to feel grounded and secure. This balance is also reflected in their career and professional lives. Sagittarius often feels a pull toward careers that offer them the freedom to explore, to innovate, and to push boundaries. They are not content with jobs that feel mundane or restrictive. Yet, as their careers progress, they begin to realize that long-term success and fulfillment require commitment and consistency. Finding a career path that allows them to maintain their sense of independence while still providing opportunities for growth and stability is crucial for Sagittarius. This can mean seeking roles that align with their values or that allow for flexibility in how they work. As they move forward, they must be willing to make decisions that support their larger goals, even if it means sacrificing short-term freedom for long-term gains. The key is not in abandoning their love for adventure, but in finding ways to incorporate it into their professional journey while also staying grounded enough to see projects through to completion. At the heart of this struggle is the understanding that true freedom isn't the absence of commitment but the ability to commit to the right things. For Sagittarius, the challenge lies in distinguishing between commitments that are necessary for their growth and those that restrict their potential. They must learn to discern which relationships, goals, and responsibilities align with their true purpose and values. This process of discernment is not easy and requires Sagittarius to tune into their deeper self, to understand what truly matters to them, and to make choices that support their long-term happiness. By doing so, they can embrace freedom in a way that feels fulfilling and expansive, without feeling trapped by the very commitments that once seemed restrictive. The journey of finding balance between freedom and commitment is one that evolves over time. It requires patience, self-reflection, and a willingness to grow in ways that may feel uncomfortable at first. But as Sagittarius continues to explore both the outer world and their inner world, they begin to realize that true freedom comes from the ability to create a life that aligns with their deepest desires. It is through this balance that they can experience both the excitement of new adventures and the stability of meaningful connections, leading to a life that feels both fulfilling and expansive. As Sagittarius continues on their journey of self-discovery, they inevitably face another challenge: reconciling their desire for intellectual expansion with their emotional depth. Sagittarius is inherently curious and intellectually driven, often looking for answers to life's big questions. Their thirst for knowledge is unquenchable, and this drive leads them to seek out philosophies, worldviews, and teachings that can broaden their perspective. However, as they delve deeper into the intellectual realms, they may overlook their emotional needs, which are just as important for their growth and fulfillment. The pursuit of adventure and knowledge often leads them to focus outwardly, neglecting the emotional connections that provide the warmth and grounding needed for inner peace. This disconnect between intellectual pursuit and emotional engagement can leave Sagittarius feeling incomplete, as they may struggle to cultivate a deeper sense of emotional connection with themselves and others. This tension often stems from the way Sagittarius values independence. Independence, for them, isn't just about physical freedom, it's a core part of their identity. The idea of being tied down by emotional commitments can feel suffocating, as if it limits their ability to roam freely and explore the world. As a result, they may sometimes shy away from emotional depth, preferring instead to keep their relationships light and their emotional commitments minimal. However, This avoidance often leaves a gap that only deep, meaningful connections can fill. For Sagittarius to truly grow, they must learn to balance their need for intellectual stimulation and personal freedom with the willingness to delve into emotional intimacy and vulnerability. Only by embracing this emotional aspect can they experience the fullness of life, connecting not only with the external world but also with their own inner emotional landscape. Another critical area for Sagittarius development lies in their relationship with responsibility. As free-spirited as they are, they can sometimes struggle to accept the responsibilities that come with their actions. This is not to say that Sagittarius is irresponsible, but rather that their zest for life and constant quest for new experiences often pulls them away from the long-term commitments that require dedication. For Sagittarius, responsibility often feels like a restriction, an anchor holding them back from the freedom they crave. However, true freedom is not about avoiding responsibility altogether. It's about understanding how to manage it in a way that still honors their need for exploration. The key is for Sagittarius to realize that responsibility doesn't have to mean confinement, but rather a partnership between freedom and accountability. Learning to embrace responsibility with grace, instead of resistance, will allow them to create a life that is both fulfilling and free, where their ambitions can flourish without sacrificing their love for independence. As they work through these challenges, Sagittarius begins to understand that their natural inclination for change and evolution does not have to be at odds with the process of building something lasting. Whether it's a career, a relationship, or a personal project, the journey towards creating lasting success requires not just passion and spontaneity but also patience and consistency. The fire of Sagittarius can burn brightly, but without the steady fuel of commitment and discipline, it risks burning out too quickly. They must learn to apply their adventurous spirit to long-term goals by breaking down their ambitions into manageable steps. Each new experience or lesson they encounter on their path contributes to the larger picture, and they begin to understand that lasting fulfillment comes from a steady, deliberate pursuit of their dreams. It's about finding the balance between the thrill of the chase and the satisfaction of completion, learning that both are essential to their growth. Furthermore, as Sagittarius grows in self-awareness, they come to realize that the need for stability is not a compromise of their identity but an enhancement of it. Stability offers them the foundation they need to build on their creative and intellectual pursuits. Without a solid base, their wide-ranging adventures and explorations can feel aimless or hollow. Stability does not mean stagnation or restriction, rather, it provides the security to take risks, knowing that the foundation will catch them when they fall. In relationships, this is particularly true. As they start to cultivate deeper emotional bonds, Sagittarius finds that their capacity for adventure and growth is enriched by the emotional stability that a strong, committed relationship provides. It's in this space of mutual trust and support that Sagittarius can truly thrive, knowing they have a safe place to return to, allowing them to leap boldly into the unknown with confidence. Through this process of finding balance, Sagittarius begins to understand that fulfillment does not reside solely in the thrill of new experiences or the excitement of exploration, but also in the quiet moments of stability and connection. While the desire for freedom and adventure will always be a part of their essence, learning to balance this with the responsibilities of life, emotional intimacy, and long-term commitment allows them to experience a deeper, more grounded form of freedom. This inner peace enables Sagittarius to cultivate a life that is not only exciting and expansive but also fulfilling and rooted in meaningful relationships and personal growth. As they continue on their journey, Sagittarians begin to realize that their ability to adapt and grow is not just about seeking new external experiences but also about how they navigate the internal landscape. The capacity to be present in the moment, to appreciate the relationships and commitments that offer them emotional depth, is what will ultimately allow them to live a life of true freedom. This freedom, however, is not the absence of commitment, but the presence of the right commitments, those that support their growth, enrich their experiences, and provide the stability needed to flourish. As they discover this balance, Sagittarius finds that they can continue their adventures in life while remaining emotionally fulfilled and deeply connected to the world around them. In embracing this balance, Sagittarius not only strengthens their own personal development but also enriches the lives of those around them. Their natural optimism, curiosity, and adventurous spirit are contagious, and when they learn to ground these qualities in a foundation of emotional understanding and responsibility, they create a life that is both expansive and deeply fulfilling. This journey, though challenging at times, ultimately leads to a life that honors both their need for freedom and their need for deeper emotional connections. By integrating both aspects, Sagittarius can achieve a level of peace and fulfillment that allows them to continue their journey of exploration, not just outwardly, but inwardly as well. As Sagittarius continues to navigate their journey, another crucial realization begins to surface: the need for deeper emotional fulfillment. For Sagittarius, the thrill of adventure often provides temporary satisfaction, but this satisfaction is fleeting. They are driven by a constant search for meaning, wisdom, and new experiences, yet in the process, they may overlook the importance of emotional stability and connection. Their passion for exploration can sometimes cloud their ability to connect deeply with their own emotions and the emotional needs of those around them. This detachment can lead to a sense of emotional emptiness, even when their external world is full of exciting new ventures. What Sagittarius must come to understand is that the pursuit of emotional depth doesn't conflict with their desire for freedom. In fact, emotional fulfillment is an essential aspect of their growth that complements their need for independence. Learning to embrace vulnerability and to nurture their emotional world does not mean giving up their thirst for adventure. Instead, it's about integrating emotional awareness with their passion for discovery. Sagittarius, when able to connect emotionally, will find that they can enjoy deeper, more meaningful experiences that enrich their journey and provide them with the sense of purpose they seek. By allowing themselves to be present emotionally and investing in deeper connections with others, Sagittarius can fulfill their desires in a more balanced and sustainable way, ensuring that their internal landscape aligns with the external adventures they seek. This emotional development is essential for Sagittarius to create lasting happiness, as it allows them to find fulfillment not just in the external world but also in their internal experiences. They must learn that fulfillment doesn't always come from the next great adventure but from the connections they form, the moments of stillness they allow themselves, and the deep inner satisfaction that comes from understanding themselves and others on a more profound level. When Sagittarius embraces this aspect of emotional growth, they will not only continue to experience the excitement of their journeys but will also find a sense of peace and contentment in their ability to balance the highs and lows of life. Building a harmonious future, commitment and freedom. The final stage in Sagittarius' evolution towards balance comes when they realize that true freedom is rooted in commitment. And that commitment does not necessarily mean being trapped or restricted. This revelation is one of the most transformative for Sagittarius. Throughout their lives, they may have feared that commitment would mean sacrificing their independence. But as they mature, they begin to understand that the right kind of commitment actually enhances their freedom. It's the freedom to build something meaningful, the freedom to grow within stable relationships, and the freedom to explore their passions while being supported by solid foundations. As Sagittarius learns to embrace commitment, whether it's in their relationships, career, or personal goals, they find that their sense of freedom expands rather than diminishes. They no longer have to choose between adventure and stability, between exploration and responsibility. Instead, they realize that commitment provides the structure that allows their adventurous spirit to thrive within a secure framework. This understanding frees them from the internal struggle between the desire for change and the need for stability. When Sagittarius learns to balance freedom with responsibility, they create a life that is rich in meaning and experience. Their ability to commit to long-term goals, whether personal or professional, doesn't diminish their sense of adventure but instead gives them a stronger foundation from which to leap. The ability to commit deeply, to work through challenges, and to invest in relationships creates a more satisfying and fulfilling existence. Through this process, Sagittarius becomes more grounded, more self-aware, and more connected to the people and experiences that truly matter. In the end, Sagittarius discovers that the freedom they seek does not have to be boundless. And the stability they need does not have to be confining. By understanding the dynamic relationship between these two forces, they find a balance that supports both their adventurous spirit and their deeper emotional needs. This equilibrium is the key to their long-term happiness and personal growth, allowing them to continue exploring the world while creating a meaningful and grounded life. Thank you for joining me today on this journey through the heart and soul of Sagittarius. It's truly fascinating to see how their love for adventure and freedom can coexist with the deeper emotional fulfillment they seek. And how by embracing both aspects, they can lead a more balanced, fulfilling life. If you're a Sagittarius or know someone who is, I'd love to hear your thoughts on how you've navigated the balance between freedom and commitment. Do you struggle with finding the right balance? Or perhaps you've already discovered ways to embrace both? Drop a comment below and share your experiences. I'm sure they'll resonate with many in our community. Remember, finding harmony between your adventurous spirit and emotional depth is a journey, not a destination. Keep exploring, keep growing, and stay true to yourself. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss out on more insightful videos on astrology, self-growth, and living a peaceful, balanced life. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you in the next one.